Hey guys, John and Jackie of OpenLove101.com. Welcome to our show. Please be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the blue bell to be notified of our upcoming videos. Today we have a letter, question from one of our subscribers.
We do.
Hello, my wife and I have been married for quite some time and we just opened up our relationship after me pushing to do so a few months ago. I find myself to be overcome with jealousy when she goes out on dates and the length of time she's gone. She will be gone all day and night at times, and I just sit at home and want her to come back to me sooner. The sex part doesn't bother me. I can see it and be okay with it, but is the emotional standpoint of maybe she will fall in love, or I feel like she's spending too much time with him and not enough with me, and I don't feel as loved because she spends the entire night with him. I'm not 100% sure on how to deal with such fears. I want to be happy for her, and I want us to continue doing this and working things out, but it pains her to see I'm pained every time she leaves for a significant amount of time. Do you have any advice? Is it just my self-esteem? How do I become more comfortable with her being gone on a date and not sit here and cry and whine about it and not be able to enjoy my night? I want everything to work out, but my feelings of this get in the way, and it's only the emotional standpoint. Thank you for listening. Thank you for writing.
Thank you for writing. And there's a lot in that. There's a lot in that letter. There's a lot going on. There's a lot.
There is a lot going on in there, and I'd like to start with the boundary aspect of it, because
Absolutely.
I think, it's key, and we've talked about this many times, when you're opening up your relationship, whether it's just swinging, just a sexual thing, or in this case, it's more of an open relationship where someone's playing separately.
Right.
And it sounds like, well, it's obvious there's things in there that she's doing that are bothering him. The time aspect of it is something that's pretty common in this type of relationship model. And you can set boundaries on time to maybe help you learn how to deal with the amount of time your spouse or partner is not there when they're with someone else.
Mm-hmm. Well, and it's so evident. This is one of those things that John and I, we really try to hammer home, is like consensual non-monogamy is this absolutely amazing relationship model, and it offers so many benefits. But for so many of us, when we are wanting to try it, we're kind of flying blind. We jump in and we end up kind of navigating as we're moving. And this is a perfect example of that happening. Hey, let's open up our relationship. Okay. And it's like, bam.
Well, and like he's saying too, he pushed it. I wanted her to do this.
Right. And the doors go flying open. And, again, this is one of those situations where one of the partners, well, both of the partners have agreed that this is something they're going to do, but then all of a sudden one of them's like, whoa, wait a second. I know I said that this is what I wanted, but so much is going on. I'm kind of having sensory overload. It's kind of like I have a wild horse going on here. I'm trying really hard to hold on to the reins, but I can't get a footing and I can't get a bearing. And this is why, like John said, this is where boundaries come into place. And this is what can trip a lot of couples up, is because now they've already started this trip into consensual non-monogamy or opening up the relationship. And now they're finding that there's a few things that maybe aren't flowing in the direction that they want it to flow. And so they need to take a breath, and they need to stop for a minute and talk about it. And this is one of those times with this particular couple that needs to happen. We need to have clear boundaries. So, instead of her being gone all day and all night, maybe the two of you sit down and you come up with a time frame. I mean, to where maybe it's only a couple of hours. Maybe we're not going to do the overnights anymore for a minute. We're going to table that for now, so that I can figure out like what my role is when you're gone. What do I do with myself? How can I feel like I'm not just sitting at home and whining and crying, like he says,
right.
Where he can't figure out what to do with himself. You know, I know the times that I've gone out, you go to dinner, or you go to a movie, or you go bike riding, and I've done the same thing. When you've gone out, I've gone shopping, or I'm like, yay, I get to watch 75,000 design shows, and John doesn't have to, you know, be talked into watching this. I can enjoy the evening by myself. And those are some ways that he can learn to busy himself. But there's, you know, we've got to have some parameters where everybody can operate, where nobody's being pained, like he says.
Yeah.
You know, because here's the thing, if he's, you know, if he's being pained and the partner sees that the partner's in pain, that's another one of those boundaries that needs to be discussed. You know, we shouldn't want to be doing anything that's going to cause any kind of angst in our partner. And if that's happening, it's the responsibility of both people to sit down and say, okay, so this is really bothering you. I can tell it's bothering you. How can we tweak this so that everybody feels safe and secure?
Yes. Now, there, in doing this and doing anything that's new and maybe challenging you haven't done before, there could be some pain in order to get through the, you know, the fear of what it is. I mean, going whitewater rafting for the first time, there was a lot of fear, and
This is true.
It didn't really go away until you got into the midst of it and
This
hit your
is true.
first rapid.
This is true.
And the same thing holds true. Now, if it's continual, it sounds like this is an ongoing thing. There's definitely some things he needs to look at here. Could it be low self-esteem, like he asked? Absolutely. And that's something you may want to seek some outside counseling for, or advice. We all have gone through a childhood, and there are, and maybe early on in our life where things happen then that affect us today as adults. Maybe we don't know how to deal with certain emotions or certain triggers that come up in our lives. Maybe we can learn a different way to deal with those types of things. There's nothing wrong with that. You know, it can help make us better people. Mm-hmm. And I'm a big proponent of finding new ways to deal with things where I might have dealt with out of anger or shutting down in the past, right?
Right.
So absolutely, you know, consider something like that. But in the interim, I think it's important that you guys communicate and establish some boundaries so you can minimize the amount of pain you're going through.
No doubt about it.
As Jackie mentioned, if you were to reduce the time, if you're okay with your partner going away for 3 or 4 hours and you're able to fill that time block, and by the time she gets home, you're like, oh man, time flew, I don't have it, then maybe next time you can expand the time a little bit more. You know, those are real things you can do to see how you feel and see if you're able to open it up a little bit further at that point.
Right. Yeah. You know, because opening up the relationship isn't some kind of like, how much pain can I endure as I'm growing in this relationship?
You got to have fun.
That is not the goal of what's happening. I mean, yes, it's always great to stretch yourself, you know, and sometimes you do have to stretch yourself to the point where it kind of pops that so that you can grow. But to just be in some kind of agony or pain, you know, I feel as though it's kind of defeating the purpose of this thing that's supposed to be such an enhancement to the relationship. No doubt. So, you know, at that point, absolutely, like John said, sit down, you know, work together on maybe what some boundaries can be that both of you feel are going to be fair and are going to allow both of you to be moving more in step, so that trust and security can be built. You know, that's just what we're doing. You know, we're just building those things. We do it every day in our partnership anyway. So it's just another one of those ways to come together.
Yes.
So
absolutely.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching. Please follow us on Instagram at OpenLove101 and sign up for our email list at openlove101.com. We'll send you our newsletter, give you some updates about what's going on in our lives. Thanks for watching.
See ya.
See ya. I don't know what I'm going to say this time other than that was a great video. And if you want to learn more from Jackie and I, subscribe below and we'll send you more than you'll know what to do with.